bitches go.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Canelo Alvarez's trainer, Eddie Reynoso, responds to Erik Morales' criticism of his fighter, Saul Alvarez. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We work and sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. I am an affiliate. It does help the channel. Now, let's jump right into it. I covered this, and I covered this particular topic before, I think it was a couple of days before the Canelo Kovalev fight, which, to me looked like a farce. And Erik Morales, Mexican legend, boxing legend, classic fights. Him, Erik Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera, really great moments. The Maidana fight, he fought Danny Garcia when Danny Garcia was like, the rising star and much younger, stuff like that. Which I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get to that point, the Erik Morales and Danny Garcia situation. And now Canelo's trainer has heard the criticism from Morales, and link in the description, Boxing News 24, they captured it, says Canelo's trainer Reynoso responds to Morales' criticism about fighting older guys. So Morales basically said Canelo is cherry picking. I'm just paraphrasing. Canelo's cherry picking, and he picks people at the end of their rope when they're faded glory, when they're washed, when they no longer look like the same fighter, just towards the end of their career, right? It said Morales not impressed with Canelo's opposition. It says Hall of Fame fighter Morales is an old school fighter who believes fighters facing the best champions to capture world titles. He sees Canelo, who appears to have been calculating and going after vulnerable champions, and he has a problem with that. So this is Eddie Reynoso's response right here. It says, what a shame to read champions and former champions minimize the success of a compatriot, Canelo, and fellow professional who began as they from below of a sport that perfectly knows the sacrifices and the danger it represents. Perfection does not exist. The companionship, yes. Number or hashtag respect. And then there's a Mexican flag emoji. And then it says the Canelo team. See? Mexican flag. What a shame to read champions and former champions minimizes success of a compatriot, Canelo, and fellow professional. But the hilarious thing about this response is it doesn't rebut or refute anything. Like, this doesn't say this is like a Hallmark card or something. Like, it sounds good, but the things that I made the video about where I directly quoted Erik Morales, this doesn't explain those. This doesn't say, oh, what are you talking about? Canelo has fought this guy in his prime, this guy in his prime. He fought a youthful guy who was younger than him, bigger than him, and this guy, stronger than him, and this guy. He moved up and fought this bigger guy. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's really not even a good response, in my opinion, because it says, what a shame to read champions and former champions, but you're doing very little, if nothing, to refute what they're saying. So how could you criticize? How is it a shame if you haven't proven Erik Morales wrong? And from reading it, my interpretation of this is you're upset, it sounds like, because in your opinion, Erik Morales owes something to Canelo as a fellow professional and as a compatriot. So to me, I'm reading that as we're from the same place. We both, grew up rough and grew up in Mexico, things like that. So, you're not supposed to go after the brotherhood or, you know, something like that. Because why would you say it's a shame for champions and former champions to minimize the success of a compatriot? Like, what does a compatriot have to do with it? Anything, you know? And that proves my point 100%. So just so you guys don't know,
compatriot,
a fellow citizen or national of a country. So basically, if you know the word, he's basically saying, look, like I said, fellow countryman, similar, countryman, countrywoman, compatriot. We all know well, not all of us know, but I know what the word means. So you're basically saying, because you're Mexican and I'm Mexican, right? It's a shame that we slight each other, or that you're taking digs at my fighter. But this proves everything that I tell you guys on the channel, that race plays a part in boxing. Just because two fighters are from Mexico doesn't mean that you can have no criticism on their moves. And that's the major problem with boxing. You know, I do a video, bro, old media is dead, and it is growing weaker and weaker with these responses. And like, not just the Reynoso thing, I'm talking about the fans. You know, gone are the days where people like myself, New Media, Eagles Army, can explain, Erik Morales can explain what we feel, why we feel it, provide examples, and the only response is, oh, it's a shame to go after your compatriot, or you're a hater, you're hating on Canelo, you're jealous, you're so jealous of Canelo. So at what point, as real boxing fans, do we cut it out? You know what I'm saying? What point do we cut it out where, so you think there's just different groups of men, different backgrounds, really different age groups? Like Nacho Beristain, I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but I think he's a senior to Erik Morales. They don't look like they're the same age, right? So you got different generations. You have fighters from different regions, not just Mexico, but you have Mexican legends included, and they're all saying similar things. They've all critiqued and criticized the movement of Golden Boy and Canelo and Canelo's Canelo team, how they've moved, right? People like Erik Morales, he says he's fighting fighters when they're deteriorated. That's not it, you know. You have Juan Manuel Marquez, Nacho Beristain. Here, I have a quote pulled up. Nacho Beristain says Canelo is not the same. He's not the best. He's had some scoring help. And here's a link to the article. This is from boxing.com. And he specifically spells out, the article was from March of this year when Nacho Beristain said that. So old media excuses and responses like this are becoming increasingly weak, because you might fool some, but you're not going to be able to fool everybody, right? Look at this article. Reynoso can't justify Canelo facing the opposition that he's faced because it's pretty clear that he's faced a lot of vulnerable guys to win the titles. This is the author, shout out to the author of this article. November 6, who wrote this? Sean Jones. See, I told you this new media stuff, it just continues to spread because it makes the most sense. It's logical. It's rational. They're saying in the article, Erik Morales. So you mean to say the author of this article, Erik Morales, Juan Manuel Marquez, Nacho Beristain, Ego, you know, just everybody, Julio Cesar Chavez, just everybody's just out to get Canelo. You know, that's played out. That's played out. And it's funny, like I said, with this article, Nacho Beristain, Mexican trainer, legend. He trained Finito Lopez. At one point, Oscar de la Hoya. Obviously, he trained Juan Manuel Marquez. He's trained Johnny Gonzalez and a slew of other great fighters. And he says Canelo's not the best. He's had some scoring help, particularly in Vegas. Then we have this weird Kovalev fight, extremely weird outcome. Kovalev is fighting a smaller guy moving up, and he's all of a sudden reluctant to throw any punches with any conviction, any power shots. He's just, he's terrified of Canelo, who just moved up, who's shorter, who's smaller, and he talked a big game before the fight. Like, oh yeah, I know what's at stake and I'm really going to win this fight. And then all of a sudden he doesn't show up. You know, he has legal problems in the back. De La Hoya has 2 lawsuits. And it's just so funny that people like balk at the fact that there could be corruption in boxing. And we see corruption in boxing all the time. You know, people fail drug tests and get to fight and all types of shit, you know. So it's hilarious. And, you know, it's looking like the end of the road for old media. They simply don't have a response. Canelo's trainer really should have probably not said anything, because it sounds like he just wants Morales and, you know, former fighters, Marquez and stuff, to ease up on Canelo, but you're not telling them why they should ease up on Canelo. And back to what I was saying earlier about Erik Morales and Danny Garcia. The great thing about that is this, is it's not just about critiquing somebody, but when your critiques and you live by those rules that you're critiquing, like you practice what you preach, then that's something different. So you look at Erik Morales, let's see if we could do some quick math. All right, he's 43 years old. He was born in 76. Remember that number, 76. So he practices what he preaches. Look at his resume, right? Look, knocked out Kevin Kelly, fought Marco Antonio Barrera, right? And I'm sure some of these other guys, right, were really relevant in the time. You know, not everyone's a boxing historian, but Junior Jones, that's a great win, you know. And look at, he just continued this throughout his career. Kevin Kelly, who fought Prince Nassim, Barrera again, Eddie Croft, Jesus Chavez, Barrera again, Pacquiao 3 times, Zaire Rahim, David Diaz, like Willie Lyman, who fought Amir Khan. So y'all don't know. Pablo Cesar Cano, who just knocked out Jorge Linares, Marcos Maidana. So here's an example. He fought Maidana in, look, I'll show you. He fought Maidana in 2011, right? 2011, and he was born in 76. So he was 35 years old when he fought Maidana, and his eye looked terrible, right? See, some of y'all don't, and it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful because you don't know boxing, you know? And you look at his eye, what he went through. Look, this was his eye when he fought him. You see how bad his eye looks? Maidana has so much punching power, he did this to his eye. And he didn't even get knocked out in that fight. And he was, what did I say he was, 35? Look, he fought Maidana, he's 35, and lost a majority decision. He lost a majority decision against a power puncher who would later give Floyd Mayweather issue in the first fight and stop Broner. And at age 35, well, he didn't stop, excuse me, let me take that back. He didn't stop Broner, but he dropped Broner twice, you know? And he nearly stopped Broner. I guess that's a better way to put it. And Morales was fighting him when he was 35, right? Pablo Cesar Cano, again, he just knocked out Linares. He fought him at age 35, coming off of his eye looking fucked up. And then the next year, so he would have been 36, he fought Danny Garcia twice. So you can't say nothing about Erik Morales because Canelo has never done that. First of all, he's not 35, so obviously he can't fight someone who's 30. But what he could do is fight someone around his age that looks to be in prime. You know, Demetrius Andrade, Jermall Charlo. It's not about your fight prediction, what you believe would happen. It's about show the world what would happen. And look at this article. Canelo fought these guys to become a 4-weight champion. Matthew Hatton at 154. So the weaker of the two Hatton brothers, right? Miguel Cotto at it was at a catch weight. He fought for the 160-pound title at a catch weight of 155. You weren't even fighting at the weight, and Miguel Cotto looked dwarfed by Canelo. Canelo looked 22 pounds bigger than him. Then you fought Rocky Fielding, who had already been stopped by Caleb Smith, a guy he could have fought and got a real title, who also won the World Boxing Super Series. And then he fought Sergey Kovalev, and it looked fake. It looked FAF. The fight looked FAF, and Kovalev, all of a sudden, a power puncher, is hesitant to throw any power shots and looked like a shell of his former self and gets knocked out. And this is his 4-weight class, who he originally beat to become champion. So once again, when you see his team respond, notice they're not responding with anything. They're not responding with, oh no, Kovalev was in his prime, because once again, we could do this all day. You know, real boxing fans know what they're saying is true. Real boxing fans understand this. The only people that don't, oh, you're hating, but they're not gonna prove anybody wrong. Damn, he's suspended until January. So anyway, so this is Canelo. He just fought him, knocked him out 11th round in 2019, right? Just last year, he was stopped. You see that? By Eleider Alvarez. And people said he was done right there. He got dropped 3 times. Look, see? So down 3 times in round 7, and he got stopped in round 7. So this is Canelo fought him after he avenged Eleider Alvarez and then fought Anthony Yarde, and he was nearly stopped in this fight too in round 8. You know, and that's when Canelo's fighting him. Age 36, almost stopped at his last fight. He boxed well, but you know, he didn't stop Eleider Alvarez. He just, you know, just had a good boxing performance. 12 rounds out of 12. Before that, he got stopped. Then he fought Igor Mikhalkin, who I've never heard of, right? Then he fought Shabransky after Sullivan Barrera had already stopped him to get a vacant belt. And then before that, he lost to Andre Ward twice and got stopped once. And that was in 2016 and 2017. So he took a pair of losses to Andre Ward, you know, fought low-level opposition for vacant title, and then he stepped up again to a ranked guy. This was Adonis Stevenson's mandatory, and Adonis hadn't fought him. So the Kovalev fight came about. He had a belt, and then Alvarez stopped him. So if you look at it, you know, and I'm not taking away credit from Kovalev outboxing Eleider Alvarez in the rematch, but who lost worse? If you look at the 2 fights, you know, Kovalev got KO'd, dropped 3 times, and then Eleider Alvarez just got outboxed. He was never dropped. He just got outboxed most rounds. You know what I'm saying? So Kovalev obviously took the more severe punishing loss. They both served each other a loss, but obviously Kovalev's was worse. And like I said, he almost got stopped by Yarde, and then he's fighting Canelo next. So, I mean, we could do this all day. Shane Mosley, 39, 40. Baldomir was 41. Had already lost to Floyd. You know, it's just, this is why you don't see Reynoso really explaining why it's a shame that these fighters are saying so. There's a reason that fighters are critiquing Canelo. I just showed you Erik Morales. You can't say he fought. Who fights Pacquiao 3 times? Tim Bradley, Marquez, all warriors. So Marquez and Erik Morales are critiquing Canelo, but they also got in there with Erik Morales. Got in there with Barrera twice. Morales got in there with Pacquiao 3 times. Marquez got in there with Pacquiao 4 times. Right? Marquez fought Tim Bradley when Bradley was younger than him. Marquez fought Pacquiao. He fought Mayweather. Right? He fought punchers like Michael Katsidis. When is Canelo, again, the walls are closing in, new media. When will Canelo fight somebody that people believe have looked good in their last 2 or 3 fights and are at least around his age? Because he's pretty young, so we don't know of anybody. But there are people. Like I would say Caleb Plant might be younger than Canelo. I know for a fact David Benavidez is. Maybe even Zordo Ramirez. So that's what I'm saying. When can we get a fight like that? David Benavidez is for sure younger than Canelo. And Canelo, his team and his fans, They want to act and have this pity party. That doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. They want to have a pity party like, oh, everyone's just hating on Canelo and jealous, and you don't want to see him because he's Mexican, and, you know, just lies. Because how are you going to say people don't want to see him succeed because he's Mexican, and half of the criticism is coming from Mexican legends? You get what I'm saying? So how is it that Mexican legends can say the same exact thing as the black channels, but only the black channels are hating on Canelo, but Mexican legends who are from the same soil are saying the same exact thing? It's over. It doesn't make sense. Look at this article. Whoever Sean Jones is, Canelo could have fought the best, but he didn't. At the time Canelo fought for the 154 belt, he could have fought IBF 154-pound champion Jermall Charlo, which is, again, people see it. This is what I told you. He could have fought either Charlo. One Charlo had Jermell had the WBC. They became champions the same night, and I was at the fight. Lara fought on the card against Vadas Matarosen, Austin Trout and Jermall Charlo, and Jermell fought John Jackson. And they both became champions. You know? Well, the Trout fight, he was already a champion. He beat Cornelius Bunders, but still. It's just, I mean, the world sees it, like I said. These are the fighters Canelo could have fought to win his 4 division. He could have fought Jermall Charlo at 54. He could have fought Triple G at 160 instead of relinquishing his belt in 2016. He could have fought, instead of Rocky Fielding, Caleb Smith. And instead of going after Kovalev, he could have fought Artur Beterbiev. You know? This is what Morales said. Kovalev is already very damaged. Canelo has fought with big names when they're at the end of their career. Shane Mosley, end of his career. Miguel Cotto, Kovalev. Gennady Golovkin, he's already far along. And Canelo has been waiting for him to deteriorate. This is something people see, Morales said. See? This is before the fight. He said Kovalev was damaged. Just like I told you. I told you guys. The Kovalev fight was an advance. I didn't wait for the knockout. I told you it was an advanced cherry pick. Listen, that's all I have to say. Good luck to Canelo, but you know, the world sees it, and listen, the bottom line is this: new media is here. It ain't going nowhere, and it's the ball's in Canelo's court if he wants to be revered as who he's supposed to be, and you know, legend. He's gonna have to do that. For example, these Mexican legends, they're not just digging stuff out of their ass. They're saying it for a reason, right? And they're supporting. He just told you. He said Shane Mosley, Cotto, Kovalev, Triple G. He's telling you all these guys are like 35 plus, and Canelo's fighting him, and he has youth on his side. He has size and some, you know, over like Shane Mosley and Cotto, right? You fought Rocky Fielding, but not Caleb Smith. Canelo is going to have to fight. Even the Daniel Jacobs fight. He fought Jacobs after he had already lost to Triple G. He fought Jacobs after Jacobs had a decent showing, but he was a little bit too hasty and emotional versus Luis Cuba Arias. He won, but he rushed his work a little bit. And then he had a pair of tough fights with Mad Selesky and Sergey Derevchenko. And at the time, some people were even saying he could have lost one, if not both of them. You know, I gave Jacobs those fights, but they were close for sure. You know, and that's when Canelo decides to unify with Jacobs. So Artur Beterbiev just looked like a beast. Canelo's own team said that Kovalev is the best light heavyweight. So if you've already defeated the highest level light heavyweight, then what's an Artur Beterbiev fight? If Canelo fights Gennady Golovkin next, then this is going to support everything that Erik Morales and Ego has told you. Golovkin looked pretty bad in his last fight, right? And he was hurt in his last fight. And a lot of people, including Canelo, believe that Gennady Golovkin did not win, right? Look, I'm going to bring it all up just so we're clear. Here we go. So this is Boxing News 24 again. Canelo says Derevchenko beat Golovkin, says a third fight can happen. Bro, it's too predictable. everything Golden Boy is doing and Canelo is too predictable. He said he didn't want to fight Golovkin. You stalled so long. You've waited till someone else kind of played spoiler, and now people don't even care about the Golovkin fight anymore. You should have just stopped being stubborn and fought Golovkin this year before someone else had a chance to get to him and make him look wilted, and then you would have got all the credit. Poor planning. And I'm gonna show you. So Canelo told ESPN, we saw, obviously for me, Derevchenko won the fight. Said Canelo to ESPN, it was a fight where Derevchenko really looked well, Alvarez said. It was his fight. Regarding Triple G, we all know, everyone knows, but he looked slow, and I think I gave everyone the pathway on how to hurt him, which is the body, and that's what we saw. So once again, you have Canelo telling ESPN he believes Derevchenko beat Triple G, and Triple G didn't look good, and he looked slow. So why would DAZN or Canelo want to stage Canelo versus Triple G 3 over Demetrius Andrade? It's over. Look, this was earlier this year, October 10th. Canelo Alvarez on a possible trilogy fight with Gennady Golovkin. He represents no challenge. And this whole article, he said, Golovkin looks slow. I think everyone saw the pathway, blah, blah, blah. If they offer me something really good, maybe the third fight can happen. He said Andrade's boring, which is a horrible excuse, etc. But the point is, you said you didn't want to fight Golovkin. You didn't want to fight Golovkin, period. And now you waited, and then someone else picked up from you and Danny Jacobs' game plan and actually probably did the best with Triple G out of all of them. And now you want to come and try to finish Triple G off when you just fought at 175? Again, this is going to lend credence to what Ego and what Erik Morales is saying. Fighting another person, by the time, just so you guys see this, by the time they fight, because he's probably going to fight Cinco de Mayo, Golovkin will be 38 years old. Look, Gennady Golovkin, April 8th, 1982. He's 37 now, so by May, Cinco de Mayo of next year, he will be 38 years old. So once again, the clock is ticking. Canelo's going to have to do the right thing, or it's going to be obvious what he's doing, which is what people like myself and Erik Morales keep predicting. Fighting people at the end of their ropes. Why would you want to fight Golovkin? You just fought at 75 and destroyed a light heavyweight who's bigger than Golovkin. So why not fight someone fresher? David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Caleb Smith, Charlo, Andrade, Artur Beterbiev, right? Even Vodstick even though he got stopped, he looked well versus Beterbiev. That's a better option than Golovkin at this point, Bro, I think Canelo's going to fight Triple G or Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is fighting low-level opposition right now, recently, since maybe David Lemieux. He failed a drug test, so he had a little bit of a layoff, fought at different weights and stuff like that. And he's probably the lightest puncher out of the bunch. So I think it'll be Golovkin or Billy Joe Saunders. But, like I said, the walls are closing in. I think Canelo's going to lose star power because people are becoming more and more comfortable discussing these things. And like I said, this was a poor rebuttal because they didn't really refute anything. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We work it.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.